This is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in lovely Marion, Michigan. I am freshly out of the pool. It was a real hot day here, and it's 89. Oh, that's Cupertino. I don't know why they're telling me that. I don't care what it is in Cupertino. I don't even know where Cupertino is, but it's 82 degrees here in Marion, Michigan. And we had a couple hot days. Yesterday was a scorcher, and so was today. Very humid, and it really makes you feel happy that you have a pool. One of the smartest things I ever did around here was get a pool. It's not an in-ground pool, it's an above-ground pool, but it was a real good investment because we like to work hard. And if you can take a break and get in the pool when it's hot like that, you feel like you're starting second shift. You're starting over. All right, so I've been in the pool 3 times today. First thing this morning, about 2, and then just now before I went on, and I feel good, rejuvenated. Around here today, the main thing is we're working on a construction project. We're building out our milk house. And this is really going to fortify the position because right now we milk in the milking parlor, which is a fairly new project that we did last year. And then we're taking the milk across the driveway into the old butcher shop, which is now just a kitchen. Half of it's just a kitchen. And then we process the milk there. So we strain it and put it in jars and then cool it over there. But the new milk house is just adjacent to the milk parlor. And it was really old and broken down, but we've made some changes to it, put a ceiling in, which is a floor to the next project. And I'm rebuilding the wall right now. We poured concrete in there, put drains in. And it's, maybe 20% of the way. But as soon as the sinks are in and it's completely closed in and we have a door on it, we will actually be using it. And that's kind of the way it goes. You build something out until it's functional, and then you start to use it, and then you continue to build on it. That's the way we've done it around here for years. I don't know. Not everybody does it that way, but hey, Belva's with us. Belva, am I coming through okay? You hear me all right? You would probably have said something by now. Let's see. As soon as Jill comes in, Belva, I'm going to get one of the kids in here to go get me a waterer. All right. Because I kind of forgot. I totally forgot. But if I have a waterer in front of me and piece of tube, I'll be able to show you what you wanted to know from our consulting call last week. But I got an interesting subject to talk about tonight. And I think it's a subject that it might ruffle a few feathers, but I think people should take notice of what I'm saying, because I'm just going to I'm going to relay the account of what has gone on over the last 3 weeks. And you guys can connect the dots from there. So today was a milking day. We had a calf fresh in 2 weeks ago now, and the mother is online. The 2 calves are in the cage, and we're feeding them, and they're doing really fine. We did have an incident that I thought is worth talking about. We went to Black Iron Days Sunday, and it's kind of I figured it out. We've been going there for 20 years, and there's a state park north of us, and a lot of guys that are blacksmiths assemble there, and they have some of them dress the part, and there used to be probably 40 of them, and they have an old engine that runs and an old sawmill, and it's a logging, setup museum type. We've been going there 20 years, and it's not near as what it was because a lot of the old guys have retired or they're out. Who knows, for whatever reason, but it's about half of what it used to be. But we went there, My kids love going. It's a day we spend together, and it's low impact, and then we'll go out to eat afterwards, and it's just kind of a thing that we do. And that all went great. We had a fun time. We got home, pulled in the driveway, and the first thing I saw was one of our calves, his name is Murdoch, was down by the calf pen, and he was kind of standing around down there, and it looked like he was tangled up in something. He was just moving kind of funny. And this is my trained eye from up here at the house looking all the way down there. And so Frank had jumped on his motorcycle, and he was going to go cool off a little bit. It was hot. It was hot. And we thought, when we get home, we're going in the pool. Well, we thought different. It didn't work out that way, because when we checked on Murdoch, he was moving funny because he was kicking at his belly, with both feet. He was kicking at it like it was bothering him. And we weren't home 10 minutes, and he was flopped down on his side, and he was kicking, like he was running in place, and his eyes were kind of rolled back. Not good. He was bloated up a little bit. So we went to work, all hands on deck. Nobody was going to go swimming or eat. And we got some baking soda and mineral oil. Jill mixed that together in the way Jill does, and put it in a big syringe and got it down his throat, and then held him up, like on his belly until he burped. And then he burped again and again. And it seemed like, okay, well, he's bloated for some reason. Let's look around and see what he got into. And we looked around, and there was nothing, all the feed is closed up, and it appeared like he had gotten in. There didn't appear to be anything that he had gotten into, but still he was in hurting status. And if we left him alone for any length of time, he would flop over on his side. And that's not good for a calf to do that, because they stop, their whole system stops. And if we left him lay there, he would wind up dead. So had we come home sooner, we might have just gotten in the pool and assumed that Murdoch was fine. And then, it would get dark, and we'd come in the house, and, Murdoch's kind of cruising around. He's a little calf, and we might not have found him until the next morning. If we had gotten home earlier, we wouldn't have seen him acting funny, and he probably would have flopped down after or if we'd gotten home a lot later, it would have been too late. So it was just one of those things, perfect timing. And we felt as though we were doing the right thing, but we didn't really know. So I have a neighbor who is a calf feeder. She feeds the calves at Vandree's Dairy down the road. They're about 100 cow dairy. And so I ran down to her house, and I said, hey, or she was at the dairy. I ran down there and said, hey, can you come and take a look at this calf, or what should I do? And she says, well, as soon as I'm done milking here, I can. It's going to be about 30 minutes, but why don't you get a piece of garden hose and put it down his throat? And she showed me on one of their cows how far to put it down. And so I did that, and it didn't go down easy. Murdoch didn't like it too well, but some gas released. Not a lot, but some. And then she came down and looked at him, and she didn't, I don't know. She says, I'm not sure, but it looks like maybe he ate something that disagreed with him. And so we then Jill made up a concoction of biochar and water and gave him a couple syringes of that. Now, these syringes are about inch around and like that long. So it was quite a bit of it. And put that down his throat in case he had poisoned himself with something that he ate. And he seemed like he was doing better, but I don't know. But by now it's getting on towards about 10:30 at night. And so me and Jill came up and went swimming. Jill went to bed. I said, I will go down and sit with him, just if nothing else, to hold him upright until I get a better idea what's going on with him. And then Jill jumped on the internet and did some research, and the best thing that she could figure was that he had what's called fescue poisoning. And that is when they get into too rich a grass, I think. And that accompanied with extremely hot temperatures and not enough water can lead to a poisoning condition in his rumen. All right, so we kind of went with that, and the biochar should have fixed that. So I just volunteered to stay up with him, and about 11:45, I'm sitting in a yard chair, a garden chair, one of them plastic things. I've got him in between my legs, and I was looking at my phone, right? And the stars. It was a beautiful night. And I was so grateful. I mean, I was just so grateful to be here. And that's a whole nother story that I do want to talk about sometime. Maybe I'll get to it tonight, but I have a very important message tonight. Anyway, about 11:45, he jumped up, knocked me over, and he was up. And I noticed his ears were flicking around at flies and stuff that were getting on him. Not a lot, but just flicking. And before, he wasn't doing that. And his eyes seemed bright. He just seemed like old Murdoch, just seemed like the normal guy that we were used to seeing around. And he walked over to the calf pen, sniffed around at the calves, and then just kind of wandered over to another place where he likes to lay and just laid down the normal way, with his hoofs to one side and his head to the other side. He kind of looked around for a little bit like he was fine. And so I pulled the chair up into another spot far away from him, and I just observed him for another half hour until I thought he's okay. And then I went to bed. And sure enough, the next morning I got up, and when I came out, Jill looked at me and she said, he's okay. So that's quite a story, and I am really grateful that Murdoch is still with us. And I tethered him today, and I made sure that he stayed in the shade and made sure he had a bucket of water in front of him, and the grass that he was on was just normal, not really. The thick grass that he got on, by the way, was where the chicken tractors had traveled. And the grass that comes up is dark green. It's very supple and long. And it's just thick. And I think that's what did it to him. It was just too rich for his little body. So anyway, he made it. And that's my story. And I'm going to stick to it. Very grateful. I'm very grateful these days for all the things that I see, all the things that I see. Maybe I'll just talk about that a little bit. I don't know where I got it from exactly, but gratefulness is something that has been serving me really well lately. A hot day. I'm grateful that it's not 20 below. My old tools that I've had since they were my dad's. Now they're mine, and some of them are not perfect, but still, I'm grateful that I have these tools to build the things that I'm building. I am grateful for that. And then I think about my dad, and sometimes I get angry when I think about my dad. But now I am just absolutely grateful to that man. And I'm able to that gratefulness helps me to see what a little jerk I was actually growing up. And even when I was in my 20s, I was still kind of a jerk to him. But he taught me how to do things. And, that's added to my repertoire of talents that I have. And because I can wire a plug, I can wire a switch. And because I can wire a switch, I can wire a motor, and because I can wire that, I can, and on it goes. But like the first steps are what he showed me when I was a little kid. And I've always had confidence in my ability to wire things and build things and, figure things out. And that leads to that gratefulness of the people that are in my life. Helps me to see, I can be a jerk a lot of times, and I'm not always who I should be to the people that are in my life. And on it goes. And it just leads to this whole gratefulness for the life that I've been given, and, this farm and my family. And it makes me want to do even better and put the pedal to the metal and really make something of this that I'm in right now. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about tonight, but maybe it kind of ties in. But I think this is an important message. So let me tell you what happened. All right. About 3 weeks ago now. Yeah, 3 weeks, maybe a little more. A fellow calls me, and his name is Brandon Goodyear. Right. And he introduces himself, and he says, I am a film producer, and your name came up, and we're doing a film, a mini series on food security and the sustainable food supply. Which sometimes when they say sustainable, that can mean organic, or it can mean a lot of things. But just some fella calling me on the phone, he was referred to me by a friend. So that meant something. I checked with her, and, she was, well, you're going to have to use your discernment with this. And he wanted to come and meet and film our farm and, I don't know, do an interview, I guess. And maybe feel us out for content for the documentary that he's going to be doing. And my attitude towards that is changed, honestly. Like, I'm dedicated to this show because of the people that are here, and I'm grateful for every one of you. I'm grateful. And I'm dedicated to our consulting service, the Anyone Can Farm Tribe Plus, which is really morphed into a consulting service. If you want one-on-one with me, you pay a little bit more and you get access to me, right? Not bad. I think from my point of view, I'm doing a lot of damage to the realm by sharing the how-to and the stories and all that stuff, and answering questions that people have about things. I don't see Jill on here yet, Belva. Don't let me forget. And so I'm dedicated to that. But my function at this point, what I'm supposed to do is build this farm, convert grass to milk, convert grass to beef, and trade that with my neighbors for dollars, feed my family, provide a nice environment, a safe environment, and then share it with people who want to know. Right? I would have loved to have something like that when I was coming up through the ranks. Really would have. I didn't. I had to search for it, find it, try, error, and all that. But that's what our fathers did if they were in farming, and they learned from their fathers, and so on. Goes back in time. Farming is a mainstay in the United States. It's a mainstay in every country. And you guys know that I'm a big fan of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, and they were farmers too. That was their main thing. That's what excited them. Of course, they got called off to military service, and they had to do it, had to go get involved with war, didn't want to, wanted to farm. And I can relate to that because I was involved in that for a while. And now it's like, we don't need to do that. We really need to no to war. No, we don't need to be doing that because we live in an abundant creation. And why do we want to take somebody else's stuff when we can do our own, right? So I'm very anti-war at this point in my life. And so anyway, this guy, I kind of interviewed him and I wanted to find out, is he with us or not with us? Because people can twist stories, and that's happened with me. I've seen it real life with like different papers here in Michigan, and then national papers that have interviewed me, and they twist my words and make you seem like some sort of nut, where I'm not. Well, maybe to some, but they twist it to make you seem as though you're not really farming, that you're really trying to lead some sort of armed revolution. And anyway, I did not want that coming. So I wanted to make sure, who was this guy? And if he's a producer, usually producers, if they're producing their own material, then I would want to know who he is and who he supports and what his outlook on the world is. Is he pro small farms or not pro small farms? And so in the course of me interviewing him, I said, well, who exactly are you working for? Who are you doing this for? And he says, well, I'm actually working for a woman by the name of Nicole Shanahan. And I think I'd heard that name before, but I didn't really know who it was. And so I says, oh, well, okay. And that was where the conversation ended, I guess. And I looked into who she is, and come to find out, she was running on the independent ticket with Robert Kennedy. And I'm from Massachusetts, so we all kind of know the Kennedys, and the Kennedys that stand out were the ones that did dumb things. And unfortunately, in the state that I'm in, there's a lot of people that are anti-Kennedy, and they report a lot on the Kennedys when they do dumb things. But not much reporting on Robert Kennedy, so I didn't know much about him. I really didn't. And so when I looked into Nicole, I could see a person, a child of immigrant parents, grew up poor and made something of herself. And there's a lot of circumstances there. And, I don't agree with anybody on everything. I don't think. I don't even agree with myself sometimes. But she seemed sincere when she was talking. I watched an interview and she was talking about sustainable ag. She was talking about the health of the children in our country. And I'm very much on board with a lot of the things that she said. She has a child that's vaccine damaged, and so she's very anti-vaccine. We're not big vaccine people. It's because I'm just not seeing the evidence of it. I'll believe it if I believe it, but I don't believe it because I don't see it. And my history with the vaccine and all that stuff. So anyway, so I allowed the interview, and I allowed them to come here, and they came with a film crew, and they seemed like nice people. Not perfect people by any means at all. Like, just seemed very. I fit right in with them, right? And so it was raining cats and dogs that day, just torrential rain. And I said, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work today. Maybe we ought to schedule another day. No, this will be fine. I thought, okay, well. And so we went down and we looked at it was a Friday. And so our chicken processing line was clicking. The kids were heads down, really jobbing it. Luckily, we had the overhang, so we weren't working in the rain. And that was an improvement over just a few months ago, or a month ago, actually. And so people were kind of happy because they weren't working in the rain. The cows were being milked. It was me and Rachel's day to milk, and Rachel agreed to milk. And then, I would be with the film crew. And then we walked around the farm, looked at different things, walked way down into the back and spent time with the cows in the rain. And they just trooped right along. Their feet got soaked up to their knees because it was raining. We got a lot of rain that day. I'm talking like 2 inches of rain. And things went really well. I was having a good time. I was enjoying their company quite a bit. And then we came up, and then they wanted to do an interview. All right. And Brandon had a list of questions, and they were pointed questions about my feelings about sustainable ag and my feelings about solutions. Like, I'm all about solutions. I want to figure stuff out, how it's going to work. And it was really encouraging. And we finished up the interview, and they were going to stay for dinner, but we were running long on chicken processing because we were. And dinner was going to be late, and it was miserable out. They were soaked. I was soaked. And so they agreed, I think we're just going to go back to our hotel room and change, and we'll do it another time, dinner another time. So it was a real nice thing. And that was it. And I put that on the shelf. That's done. Over. My job is this. I am a production farmer, and I feel very strongly about I produce something, I sell it, I use that money for my needs and expanding the operation. I'd love it if I could expand it quicker, but I can't. I only have so much dollars left over at the end of the month, and I invest those, as I've told you. Where? In the stock market? No, I invest it in this farm, right? This farm is my livelihood. I want to put everything I have, at today's dollar value into it now, because the value of the dollar is diminishing. We've seen that. So if I invest my dollars now, I have something that I can operate to continue going and build generational wealth and all that. My feelings on that. And so I'm very matter of fact about what I'm doing. I'm not hiding anything. I operate per the U.S. Constitution, and it has served me well. And I'm a constitutionalist, or a Connie, and I make no bones about it. Until you can prove me wrong that the Constitution is not valid, I'm going to go with it, because what am I going to go with? Schmoozing inspectors with plates of cookies? Is that better than the Constitution? No, it isn't. So that's my feeling on it, and I was very matter of fact about it. And there it went. Okay, we did the interview. They said they'd like to come back another time, and I said, well, okay, let's look at that. And it was pleasant, so I said, sure, another time. Maybe when we're not so busy, whatever. And so I went back to my thing, and I bared down on what I was doing and finished up the day. Saturday came, I finished up the day. The week went. Then last Friday, Robert Kennedy backed Donald Trump. He left his campaign in the 10 battleground states, or the 10 swing states, and then backed Trump. And I'm voting for Trump. I don't make any bones about that. No one's perfect. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I like him. I judge his character to be good. I grew up with kids like him. Yeah. I think he's a leader. I'm going to go with him. I liked it better last time. I don't like what's going on now, and I don't want it to continue for any more time. I didn't make any bones about that. No, I'm not going to vote for Robert Kennedy. I'm not going to throw my vote away. I'd like it to if he was in a better position, but I didn't tell them that I was going to. And I don't think they really asked me either. They didn't really ask me about any of that. So anyway, he backed him, and then I listened to his speech when he left his campaign and backed Trump. I'm working, I'm listening to it. He's hard to listen to. He always been hard to listen to for me. But the more he spoke, the more easier it came for me to listen to him, because he was on the same page with me on my thing, farming. I don't think he got into gun control. I don't think he got into that, but I'm told he's not on the same page with me on that. I don't think he got into abortion. I don't think we're on the same page on that. We're just not. But he didn't get into it. But he did get into a couple of things that I thought were kind of interesting. He talked about the health of our children. I've been concerned about that for a long time. All you have to do is observe. And I'm 64. I grew up when most people were very healthy. And that's not the case right now. That's not the case at all. And I think I know why. And I'm not a scientist, but I am trained as a military person in pattern recognition. I'm trained in that. And I notice patterns a lot. When I see a number come up here and I see it come up here, I'm keying on it. I'm trying to figure out, okay, is it going to come up a third time? That's just numbers. But what about when I see data or statistics? And when I see that, and it just so happens in the business that we're in, we have a lot of mothers coming here, and I quiz them a little bit. Why do you want raw milk? Why do you want grass-fed beef? Why, pastured pork? Why pastured poultry? Well, what's this all about? And then I assess, do these women, mothers, lots of mothers, young mothers too, do they know what the hell they're talking about? Or are they just watching TikTok videos? Are TikTok videos, could there be any truth to TikTok videos? I don't know. They come and go, but you kind of know truth when you hear it, right? You kind of do, if your spirit's open to it. And lies when you hear it too, if your spirit's open to it. And that's something that I'm also sensitive to, having been in the business that I was in before. And you have a lot of young people that are trying to tell you what you want to hear, but you got something that you got to get done. And you can't always trust what people are saying, because they want to tell you what you want to hear, so you have to give and take. And usually the truth is somewhere in the middle. And that's what we need, is the truth. And I'm admitting to you, I've been there. I've not exactly told my bosses the truth always. But anyway, I heard I heard Robert Kennedy's speech, and it got more and more easy for me to listen to. And when it was over, I was pumped. And then Trump got up and he said, I'm completely on board with what he's saying here. Whoa. Did it sound like I want to get on board with this because it's going to buy me votes? No, it didn't to me. Anyway, take it. You can hear it any way you want, but to me, it sounded like he was sincere, and he wanted the health of the country to be his legacy. Physical health, mental health, financial health. And that's what you would want for a corporation that you own. You wouldn't want to destroy the people's health that work for you. You wouldn't want to run the company into the ground. And I believed what he was saying. I believed it. And could I be wrong? I could. I've been wrong so many times, but I've been right a few times too. And I'm going to go with, I believe what they're saying, what they want. And why do I believe that? I believe that for reasons outside of what they were saying. I have been watching, because I live in an agricultural community. I rub shoulders with people in the agricultural community. I see the difference between people who get up every day and love what they're doing because they are gaining on it. They're gaining, right? They're not just going through the motions until next season when they start over again. And no, we're not making any progress here. We're just maintaining for whatever reasons. And I don't need to go into those reasons right now. I don't need to go into it. I think everybody knows the reasons, right? There's this cycle of, okay, people are getting sick. Well, that's bad. But Big Pharma says, no, that's good. Right? So I don't need to get into that. I don't. People kind of get that. Okay, the food is bad, makes people sick. Oh, that's bad. No, that's good. Right? So that cycle, that's a death cycle, right? Over in some countries, somebody's doing something bad. Oh, well, we need to go to war. No, that's bad. War is bad, right? Or the hospital. Well, most of the beds are empty. That's good. No, that's bad. We need people in those beds. You know, like if you had a hotel and only 20% of the rooms were taken, that's bad, right? You want it full. That's good, right? So to get it full, you advertise better rates, or a bigger pool, or a nice diving board, let's say. Oh, that's bad, right? Anyway, I think you get where I'm coming from. This cycle that we're in is not a healthy cycle. And what I heard Kennedy say was, we need to break this cycle. And it's not going to be broken by, okay, we're going to issue an order that now all industrial farms have to start doing things organically. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. People will push back, and they're not going to want to do it. But what are we seeing now? We're seeing the prices of food at the store at about the same price point that we're selling food for. And so moms are saying, why should I buy that when I'm feeding it to my kids? I have no idea what's in it. And my kids are not looking too good. You know, their hair doesn't shine. They smell funny. They act weird. You know, their eyes don't twinkle. You know, just weight gain, total weight gain, no energy. Is that the food? I think so. And then you have these same agencies like the USDA, FDA, Michigan Department of Agriculture saying, oh, raw milk bad. Raw milk bad. Mountain Dew good. You know, grass-fed beef, ooh, bad. Pop-Tarts, good. Macaroni cheese, oh, that's good. You know, let's serve that in the school. We'll subsidize that. Now, this doesn't make sense to anybody, us anyway, but you kind of see where it's going. So to break this cycle, Robert Kennedy was talking about, well, why is it these big farms are getting subsidies, but our small farms that are producing good quality food don't? That's not fair. If they're going to get subsidies, these guys have to have subsidies. Now, if I did get subsidies, I'd put it to good use. Oh, yeah. The problem is right now, if you receive subsidies, the USDA says, yeah, but you got to spend it on this. Oh, but I wanted to set up a composting operation and feed my fields organically. Oh, no, you can't do that. No. You need to spend it on fertilizer. We have some representatives here from this company, and you go see them, and you can spend our money on that and pay us back, right? So it's not good. It's not good. I think people know it. An alternative would be better. But this is going to come by us continuing to do what we do. We have to continue to do what we're doing. Oh, I got a cat that just came in here. And this takes me back to when I first started farming. I had an idea. It was just an idea. And where do ideas come from? I don't know. Did I look at a calendar or I don't know. I think it came from working in the military, and we had a small farm, just a 13-acre place with a little creek going through it, and we bought it because we didn't want to live on base. And I didn't want to subject my wife to that. And so we bought this little place, and the contrast that I would feel from working within the military, especially then I was deploying for 3 days at a time, and then I'd come home, and then I'd go out in the barn and milk a goat. Yes, I milked goats. But I would lean my head against that goat and milk her. And the contrast was unbelievable to me. And I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know if it would work. I had so many people around me, even other farmers that I knew I met out in Montana. They were kind of like, many have tried, young man. And then when I started to analyze the reasons why you can't make it in small farms, a lot of the reasons for that seemed to be outside of my control, But as I got into it, I realized, no, they're within my control. They are within my control. I can shift what I'm doing. I can leverage my talents, and I can make this work. And when this film crew was here, they walked around and I don't know if they know farming very well, but I'm thinking what they wanted to see was, is this guy really making it work? Or is this an illusion that's being put forth to get views on YouTube, right? Well, if views are everything, I only got views. My thing says I got 13 views right now, but that hasn't stopped me. I'm not doing this for views. I am not in the internet business. I am not in the influencing business. Now, I will admit, when I went to work with my son a few years ago, he came and says, "Hey, we can really, roll this." Okay. And so we were focusing on influencing, right? Because, man, if you can get this up to like 1 million views, that equals this much in revenue from YouTube. And so you start to, if you're going to be in that business, you have to shape your content to fit, YouTube's guidelines. And so you're actually working for them, and that becomes your business, not what you're really doing as a production farmer. Because a lot of what I do in production farming, YouTube doesn't want to see it, and they don't like it. It violates guidelines. And if I say certain things, they don't like it. They cut you off, right? I think because we have so few views that they don't really care much. But they have given me strikes and this and that for like medical misinformation and stuff, whatever. And I've always kind of been like, all right, if they knock me down, I don't really care. It's not what I do. But this whole thing that I just told you sends my mind down the road a little bit. Like, I can't see down the road, but I kind of know what's down there. That's my job, is to figure out what's ahead. And you learn that in small farms. You learn that in military life. You don't know what's down that trail, but you better have a good idea of it before you send resources down that trail that could get chewed up if you don't know what you're doing, right? So you have to think that way constantly, thinking down the road, beyond my headlights, right? And so if I was to be still in that business, I would share with my inner circle, look, I don't know what's down the road, but this is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? So that's what I'm doing right now. Everything that I've just told you about is what I know. That's it. That's all I know. And so I have to kind of, okay, what does this mean? What's coming down the road? I know for a fact that industrial agriculture is failing, and it has for a long time. It's not profitable, the process that the USDA has dictated to these farms. This is how you're going to operate if you want our money. Well, I never took any of their money, so I don't do it their way. Matter of fact, I do it my way. And I've had a lot of mistakes, but then I've had a lot of victories too. And I don't do the mistakes again. So I just work the victories, and then, well, I'll try this. And, it works or it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, I don't do it again. If it does work, do we want to do it? Do we like it? Is it profitable? It's got to be profitable, because the way I see this, a lot of you get in on the level of homesteading. You're trying some stuff out. You still have your day job. You're feeding your family. Your mistakes aren't going to make you lose your house, right? But then as you get better, then you can start to do more farming and less working out. I don't think I've met anybody that says, no, I want to keep my day job forever. I just want to farm on the side. Everybody kind of starts leaning towards, gee, I sure would like to do this full time. I sure would like to be able to make a good living at this. Everybody's like that. And why shouldn't you be able to, with an abundant creation that we live in? Why is it that you can't do that? Well, if I put a CNC machine in front of you and an electrical hookup and the necessary parts that you need, why is it that you couldn't make it as a machinist? Why is it? Well, because you don't know how to read a micrometer yet, and you don't know how to set that machine up. You don't know how it's wired. You don't know metallurgy enough to turn out the parts that are going to be profitable, that a manufacturer is going to want to buy from you. You don't know how yet. But with training, you would know how. So this is the same way. You start out in homesteading and you don't know anything. You get your first group of chickens, half of them die, half of them don't. So whatever you did that made them die, you don't do that again. And you get better. And then you get your first baby pig. And then on and on it goes. It is a group of stepping stones that you're going from one to the next. And every time you go to a different stone, you learn. Whether it's a failure or a victory, you learn. I ain't going to do that again. That was a good one. Yeah. Like a few years ago, we wouldn't have any clue what to do with that calf. And I would have been fretting over, gee, do I call the vet on a Sunday night at 9:30? And it went through my mind. He's a friend of mine, and I really don't want to do that to him. And in industrial ag, what's a calf? What's a calf? It's a bull calf. What's that? It's nothing. I thought about that a lot when I was looking at the stars. Here's this beautiful little creature that was bestowed on me. How can I look at it as something that, well, if it's dead in the morning, so what? I couldn't do that. And I'm glad I'm not there. I am so glad I'm not there. When you get there, I think agriculture or farming, whatever you want to call it, loses its luster, right? It loses its shine because we're the human. This creation was made for us. We have to respect these animals, right? And when we do that, we get respect from the creator of this creation because we're doing right by him, right? You can't think that the God of the universe that created that calf is feeling the same way as, somebody might in an industrial ag, like, well, if it lives, it lives. If it don't, tough. Throw it on the garbage pile. I can't believe that, all the time that the creator took to put that little calf together, that beautiful little creature. It doesn't even make sense for me to, well, if it's dead in the morning, so what? Or, well, I'll just knock it in the head now. No, that's not the type of farming that we're doing. And if that was what it came to, I think I would probably not be wanting to put as much work into this as I do, because I do put a lot of work into this farm, but it's not drudgery. There are parts of it that are, supposedly, I suppose. But overall, I went to bed a happy boy after that calf jumped up and knocked me over. I was a very happy person after that. So where are we going? Where are we going with this? What are the dots that we need to connect here? And what was my message to you all? All right, if industrial agriculture is failing, what's going to take its place? One of the reasons why Jill and I felt as strongly as we did about this career field when we got into it was because I had been places where the only thing that matters to the people who live there, look at a war-torn country, look at Ukraine right now. Dollars don't mean much because you can't trade them for food. Food means everything. We need food. We need clean water. We need air to breathe. You don't actually need a warm place to sleep. It's nice. And if you slept in the cold a few times, you'd realize how nice it is, how grateful you would be. Oh, these sheets feel so good. And it's not cold. I'm not wet. I'm dry. Sleep in the cold a few times. See what that's like on lumpy ground or in a wet hole. Try that on for size. You will be grateful for a stinky sleeping bag. So where's this going? Where's this going? I mean, why am I so excited about this? Why do I feel as though I need to share with my inner circle that I think something's coming that we ought to be prepared for? I think that America can be fixed by getting more people away from the scam that they were told that started in grade school, that you're being trained to just be a functionary of the bigger machine. There, I said it. You get A's in grade school, and then you get put in a higher track in middle school. You get put in a higher track in junior high school and a higher track in high school. And then, wow, you need to go to Sanford, and then you're trained for what? To knock calves in the head? A lot of those people are kind of heartless, and they're really not in tune with life in general. They live in kind of a fantasy world. It's my experience. I haven't always been real easy on the universities because I don't see a lot of reality coming out of the universities when it comes to just about anything. I haven't been real, and it didn't attract me because, I'm wanting to lay my hands on some hardware here. I don't want to do that ethereal, the way it ought to be type things. And if we can just, that seems like higher education is a bit of a brainwashing. And now with DEI, you see where that's going. DEI is nothing new, by the way. I dealt with that in my earliest days in the military. And I look back on it now and I see that's exactly what that was. Exactly. And so now it's manifesting into its full thing is a boy can be a girl and girl can be a boy. If you are confused about that, then you're pretty easy to confuse about anything. You don't know the difference between boys and girls. Even questioning it is a little bit insane. It's absurd. It's absurd. But yeah, that's where we are as a society. A vocal minority is most people, even if they kind of, oh yeah, go along, they don't believe it. They do not believe it. And other things, there's all kinds of other things like that. Oh, even this package of ho-hos. Well, the FDA says it's okay, so it must be good. Well, you're pretty easy to fool. I eat one and I have the scoots the next day. Oh, I guess the scoots are good. That's what I should be saying, but I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. Right. So, and I know that's a little bit gross. Let's getting into excrement talk, but that's how we judge the health of animals is by looking at what we're putting in and what is coming out. And so, why shouldn't we judge ourselves the same way? You do that with your small children when you change their diaper. Oh, this doesn't look good, honey. Something's wrong here. Must have been them ho-hos that he got into. I don't even know if they make ho-hos anymore. I don't even really remember what ho-hos were. I'm not sure. But what's coming? What's coming? I would hope that when you hear what I'm saying, you get to where I was, something that happened in me today. And it happens a lot, but I'll just tell you. I'm working on the milk house. It is blistering hot. And so I'll work some of these easier jobs that are inside in the shade. But when I thought about this, I thought, no, I am putting the pedal to the metal right now because every minute is precious. Why? Because I may be called on in the near future or the not so near future, or to be able to provide food for people. And not just anybody, but maybe everybody. This is serious where we are as a country with the food production. It is serious. And I think our leaders see it too. I don't think that what we saw last Friday with Robert Kennedy, back in Trump, I don't think that was just beginning of the week. Yeah, I think I'll do this. And then at the end of the week, do it. I don't think when you're steering a ship the size of the United States and the importance of the United States, this is a very important place in the world. I can tell you that. I don't think it's something that's done. I don't think there's knee-jerk movements like that. I think everything is planned. And we sometimes look at that and say, oh, they've planned this thing out for, yeah, I think some things like the Wu flu, I think that was planned. Did it just happen because somebody ate a bat? Nah, I don't think so. I think it was planned. I think a lot of things are planned. And in order to counter this element that seems dead set on destruction, but short-term gain, I think the plan has to be much broader and better thought out by a better class of people who are interested in life for all, whether it's an unborn baby or some guy that we don't like on a battlefield in Palestine. Death has no place. intentional death has no place. It really doesn't. There's better ways to do things. And I see a lot of people saying stuff here, but I'm on a roll, so I'm not reading them. And I don't want to distract myself. So we've come and met on this channel for a long time, and I share things here and there, funny things and stuff. But I feel strongly right now that the time is here to get a sense of urgency in your farm operation. The way I see it is people start in homesteading, and then as you get better, you all of a sudden come out of homesteading and you become a member of the small farms community. And a small farm can be quite big, but it's private. It's privately owned. You're not taking any kind of subsidies from the U.S. government. And you're doing business. I produce this, I sell it for this, and the dollars that I have helps me to grow my business, plus take care of my family's needs and my employees' needs. That's a small farm. And you're stewarding this unbelievable creation that we live in and reaping the benefits of it. It was created for us for that. It wasn't created for us to live in austerity. It wasn't. The austerity movement comes from foolishness that people dream up. And I think it begins in universities, actually. They dream up global cooling. That was a big deal when I was a kid. Ice age. Going into another ice age. And then it switched. Then it was global warming. And that didn't work out so good. So just in my lifetime, ice age, global warming, and now we got climate change. It wasn't like this yesterday. So that means that the climate is changing. And who's the culprit of that? Mankind. Who hates mankind? It isn't our creator. Our creator created us. If he wanted to wipe us out, he could do it with a breath. I'll start over. Or flood the place. Could. But who wants to constantly accuse and talk you into your own destruction? Whispering in your ear. And the weak-minded people, or the young, a lot of times they grow out of it. A lot of times they don't. And they believe that their destruction is the only thing that can work. Right? Instead of, how can we all make this work? There is a way, there is a solution. So I can't see any further than my headlights, but I got a good feeling about it. A good feeling. Either way, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue to share it with you all. Either way. So there you have it. That's my message for tonight. I think it's profound. As I thought about this today, I had to go and get some parts or something. And as I thought about it, my poor wife, I come in the house and I said, hey, and she's got things to do, but I got to tell somebody, I got to tell you. And to her credit, she sat down and listened to me. And I said, either way, we need to put the pedal to the metal on this. We really need to do this. And a lot of what I have discovered by this thought process is that the remnant of successful agriculture is still here. Today, as I was driving along, I had to go to two different places. As I was driving along, Robert Kennedy was sitting next to me. And I was giving him an explanation of the solutions for this problem. And it made a lot of sense. I said, which way do you want to go? North, south, east, or west? You pick. Okay. I happened to be traveling east, and I came across this great big old red thing, barn. And then the house next to it, nobody around. No cars in the driveway. Nothing going on. Nothing going on. People live there, but they're not there during the day. They're at work. Mom and dad, kids in daycare. Is that working? Why is that barn there? Well, because it just hasn't fallen down yet. Gee, I wonder why it hasn't fallen down. Because it was built properly 150 years ago, and it's still standing up. Might need some things, but it's still standing there. And because of the barn geek, he told me just one little quick thing that he told me, but I know he knows his stuff because the other things we talk about, he knows what he's talking about. So I know he knows about barns. And I was never really that interested in barns. What was that? But he told me on Tribe Day, he explained to me in about 30 seconds about how this barn was designed to ventilate itself and what the function of it was. Oh, okay. And then I went on to the next thing. But that didn't end there. You know, whoa, he's right. When I stand here, I can feel this draft going through here. Did they do that on purpose? You're darn right they did, because they knew what they were doing. The men that settled this area came here from Holland, and they didn't come and say, how we build barns? I don't know. Let's just build it. Like, how come they all look the same then? They're all very similar. They had a plan. The barn is a component of a process, and it's a component of a process that worked for 100 years in this country until industrial ag rolled in after World War II, and they said, get big or get out. Seemed to coincide with us going off the gold standard too, didn't it? Yeah. So what are those dollars that they hang out there? That's a carrot. You want the carrot? You got to do it our way. And if you don't, oh, we got the stick right here. And who's that? Department of Agriculture. They're the stick. Because they're not the ones that are saying, hey, this is how you farm. They're just the ones that are saying, no, you got to stay within these guidelines set right here by this program here. Right? Because it's all about the money to them. It's not about healthy food. It's not about healthy soil. That was another thing that Robert Kennedy said. He harped on healthy soils. And you've heard me say that a million times. That's where it begins, is with the soil. Craig Schaff comes here and he'll always start it off by, what's the biggest crop? What's the most abundant crop that Mark grows here at Baker's Green Acres? And people say, well, pigs? Oh, no, chickens. He's got more chickens. Yeah, but weight-wise, he's got more cattle. No, Craig will say it is the organisms that he propagates in the soil. And now Craig said this before I even knew that's what I was doing. But I did know that fertility was important, because fertility grows more grass, more milk, more dollars, more, and fertility grows on its own. If I do a few things, it requires my stewardship. But spraying chemicals out there kills all the organisms in the. Yeah, but you can buy it next year. We got subsidies for that. Oh, okay. All right. Just like bodybuilding, here's some steroids, and you just need to take more next time. No big deal. You take them your whole life. Yeah, until your heart gives out. See? So there is a good way to do this that we can all benefit. And I believe that was his message. He was tough on pharmaceutical too. I'm not saying the pharmaceuticals don't belong, but the unhealthy relationship between the pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare industry and the food industry doesn't look good. And the data would probably tell you that it isn't good. And I don't need to go into that because I'm not going to participate in it. I have no interest in participating in it. I think it'd be really bad if I got locked up someday and I had to eat, Hormel and all that stuff. That would be bad. Yeah. So anyway, that is my message. And I just want to convey to you that I think the time to get serious and to start looking, okay, I've got chickens now, but where am I going? Where am I going if all of a sudden the food system folded up, which it could very well? Let's say subsidies don't come out next spring. What would happen? People would be selling cows. They'd be knocking buildings down, disassembling them, and grinding up concrete, and it would all go away. And there's industries to do that too. Believe me, I've seen it. I've seen it. These great big farms can be a grassy field once again, and very efficiently. And it could happen. It's sort of like you think about all the work that goes into building a war machine. You know, you look at the numbers of the tanks that we built in World War II, the amount of effort that went into that. And when it was over, we just melted them down and made them into other stuff. Airplanes, how many we built. And then when it was over and we didn't need them anymore, they just cut the wings off. They didn't sell them. They just cut them up for scrap, melted them down, made something else out of them. You can be sure that when you buy a tractor, in its previous life, it was something else. That's the machine. That's the war machine. There's money on both ends. There's money on both ends. And that's not the model that we're operating under. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break here because I got to go get a piece of apparatus because I promised Belva I would show something off. This is a very important component, and it's water distribution. And we talked about it on a consulting call last Wednesday. It was a really good discussion, and I'm going to share it here with you guys for free because I said I would do it for Belva, and Belva's been very I'll say this. There are about 10 people in my circle that if I had to say this one, this one, this one, and this one, people that have taken the information and thrown themselves into it. They have absolutely thrown themselves into it. And I look at it and I say, wow, you know, I'm impressed at what they're doing. And that gives me hope. That gives me hope. We conduct training classes here on Baker's Green Acres. And I think the secret sauce to the training courses, because we tried doing it virtually, you know, videos, and I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And I asked the question to myself, why is that? The secret sauce is immersion in this environment where it is happening. That is the secret sauce, right? It's sort of like going to basic training, but doing it a video course. Wouldn't work. I can tell you it wouldn't work because you don't have the sights, the sounds, the smells, the anguish. You got to have those things. And when people come here for our training classes, I've told you this too, we're getting a completely different group of people now. We're getting people who have punched out of the go to school, get the good grades, go to college, get that education, make that 6 figures, live in a city, and you'll be happy. And they're like, well, I'm not happy. What's wrong here? Quality of life here sucks. I'm leaving. I'm looking for something else. And then they stumble across a family like ours who has stepped out on faith in the face of many people who thought, you just don't want to go to work. You just don't want to live in the real world. You just don't want to do it this way. You don't want to do it because you don't want to do it. And now 20 years later, they're not saying that. They're saying, wow, didn't really see what you were doing. Sounded like you just didn't want to go to the factory. You didn't want to go down the coal mine. Didn't want to keep turning wrenches on airplanes. Didn't want to stay with the war machine. You know, you could have made a lot of money doing that. We've got a good war going on right now. You could have stayed with that. And I didn't want to because I didn't believe in it anymore. I didn't want any more of the death, you know, because eventually it's mine. you know, and to finish up that way, well, at least I went out in a blaze. What? That's not what I'm living for, to go out in a blaze of glory. That's not, no thanks. That's made up. That's Holly weird, right? No, you can have a good quality life in small farms, good quality of life, healthy, productive. You get to use your your mind to wander into areas where you wouldn't normally, and experience things that you wouldn't. It's a good way. I've met people that I would have never have met if I wasn't in farming. In what I was doing before, it was the same group of people all the time. And some people were more into it, right? Because that's how you progress, is more into it, more into dropping, all the stuff. And I just, even though I was attracted to it at some point in my life, when I was in it, thought, this doesn't make sense. We're going to drop these bombs and that will fix. That doesn't make sense. That does not compute to me, and it still doesn't. And I don't think it didn't work. The amount of money that we spent in various wars, we could have built farms. We could have built and I know that sounds trite, but we could have enhanced their way of life, and then they won't want to kill us if they wanted to kill us in the first place, which I don't think it didn't. That doesn't compute either, right? But that whole thing. But 1 second, please. This is going to take a couple of minutes. I'll be right back. Unless I can get a helper. Let's see how many people hung on. 13 of you hung on. I'm grateful. You know what else I'm grateful for? A pile of manure that I just stepped on. It's dark outside and I didn't see it. But my calf is digesting very well. And as I walked past, I stepped in a real nice one. Came up through my toes and everything. I got bare feet on. All right, so we were talking about water distribution. A little Sammy Hager while you're away would be nice. Pat H. Thank you, Mark. Great message. All right. Appreciate it. Barns are a very carefully designed technology developed over thousands of years. We got to turn this over to you one night, Aaron, and enlighten us on that, because just that one little snippet that you gave me made me look at them all completely different. Sarah Perrine. Welcome, Sarah. He's the real deal. Love Kennedy. Okay, me too. Sarah says, Kennedy has been talking about this his entire career. He has been fighting defamation the last 20 years. He's the real deal. Sarah says, do you process your hog hides? I do not. I have just found a processor to do mine, but I'd like to learn how. I'd love to join your classes. Well, we'd love to have you. We have one coming up November 1st this year. We'd love to have you. That's why the old farmers I learned from growing up called it animal husbandry. God told me to. Hey, Mr. Baker, how are you? Good? Doing all right. I'm doing great tonight. I'm riding high. I am really doing good. McKenna says, having a down calf is scary. McKenna Hicks, also known as Sarah, hold the line. She's with us. Barn Geek's with us. And Belva's with us. Okay, Belva, here we go. So this is a Little Giant waterer. And you can see about how big it is, right? This one is for broilers. It would work for layers as well. It will not work for new chicks because it's too deep. And when they get in it, they can't get out and they'll drown. So you can't use it for new chicks. You can modify it. And to modify it, all you'd have to do is cut a circle out of something to fit it down in there. So it would only be, about this deep, that if they got in, they could hop back out, because chicks will do that. So the way this works, this one is probably 15 years old, and you can see it's a little bit discolored. They always make them red because red draws poultry to it. And this one, you can see it's been out in the sun a lot, but it's still 100%. And it comes apart like this. This piece fits down in here, and then it gets a half a turn. These fittings are made out of brass, so they will last forever. Half a turn, and it's on. Half a turn, it comes out. And on the end here, you see these two round, there's two